War, conquest, famine, and death are the names of the four horsemen. They are supernatural beings, forces of nature, and cannot be stopped. Their only purpose? To bring about the end of days and to judge humanity. The 2023 movie Knock at the Cabin features a unique take on the four horsemen. Rather than being paranormal or supernatural entities, the four horsemen are mere humans who were given disturbing visions about the end of the world and set on a quest to stop the end of the world by all means necessary. So after receiving these horrifying premonitions and being told to build various weapons based on what they've been shown, exactly how they've been shown, the group set off to find this family in order to stop the apocalypse, even if they have to die in the process. Now, granted, unlike other movie villains we've seen, where their only motive is to cause mayhem and destruction and suffering because they're evil, it seems like the four horsemen of the Knock at the Cabin film seem more inclined to do this not because they want to, but because they have to. His entire crew coming from all around the earth and having different professions and backgrounds. Despite what our main characters might think throughout the course of the film, the reality of the situation is that these four are indeed the four horsemen, and that they have seen horrifying premonitions of the future, and are tasked with only one goal. That is to prevent the end of the world and thousands from dying. However, the only way this is achieved is if members in this family can agree to do the impossible, and that is one of these three family members must die voluntarily. It is stated throughout the course of the film by Dave Bautista's character that should they fail to meet the requirements of this sacrifice, that the world will die, however their family will still be alive, and be doomed to wander a destroyed world until they too die. With all of Leonard's crew taking on qualities of human nature, nurturing, guidance, malice, and healing. Leonard did everything he could. Every time he's on screen, he's constantly pleading with the family to do what needs to be done. And even when they don't, he doesn't blame them, like I said before. He probably felt like, in the end, his sacrifice went unanswered. However, fortunately, it did. Do I think the four horsemen are evil? No. In fact, I'd say they're more chaotic good. Yes, they do some destructive and disturbing stuff. However, it's all in the name of preserving life on Earth. In fact, they don't really do anything to try to hurt the family. In fact, they do nothing to try to hurt the family. They often avoid trying to cause any physical damage to any of the members of the family, and when they break the window and the door, they immediately fix these things. When members of the four horsemen begin to kill each other, they immediately remove the bodies so that the family does not have to see the mutilated remains. They let the kid watch cartoons, and they even feed them. So I'd say they're pretty chill. The worst thing they do is tie Eric and Andrew up. I mean, hell, they even tend to Eric's wounds when he attempted to kill one of them. Leonard is the leader, and he is the horseman of guidance. He was there to guide the family all the way to the bitter end. He didn't blame them for any of the choices they made and the actions they took, and he felt everything was justified. He didn't even blame them for the deaths of the other horsemen members. He was just kind of there to hang out with them. Albeit, how do you hang out with somebody that's taking your family hostage and is telling you the world is going to end and you have to kill a member of your family?
I believe you were chosen because your family's love for each other is so pure. I know you've been through a lot and people haven't been fair to you.
Drop the weapon and move away from Eric, or I'll show you I was chosen to put a bullet in your head. Drop it now, Leonard!
Redmond is the horseman of malice, and much like his namesake, he's not the nicest of characters. However, his goal ultimately is to save life on planet Earth, which is why he joined up with Leonard and the other horsemen. Redmond's story does not have a pleasant start, and I guess to some degree it does not have a pleasant end either. Redmond is a reformed criminal who dedicated the rest of his life before the apocalypse and the visions to the workforce, which is ironic enough given that his sacrificial tool, or his weapon, resembles a long hammer. Being the horseman of malice, Redmond is obviously not the most pleasant of characters. In fact, everything he says has this kind of sarcastic undertone, very passive-aggressive, and just not friendly in the slightest. Like I said, Redmond's goals do align with the other Horsemen members. He does want the Earth to prosper, and he wants life to continue. However, unlike the other Horsemen members, he's not there to be friends with the family. He's not there to hang out. He's not there to be nice. He is there to make sure the job gets done, which is probably why he's so hostile in the film, not to just the family, but to the other members of the Four Horsemen. He knows that there is precious time wasting, and these people need to make a decision now. Sabrina is the Horseman of Healing, and was a very talented doctor prior to her getting the visions of the apocalypse and meeting up with the rest of the Horsemen. Her tool is a very interesting one, as it doesn't seem to be connected to any part of her personality or story. It's just a long spear with a kind of flail weapon mounted on the end of it. It also has what looks like a pickaxe head on the top of it. I guess this could resemble some kind of medical instrument, but I've never seen anything that looks like that in a hospital. Given Sabrina's extensive medical history, her role is quite simple. She's there to offer emotional support to the family, and obviously her services as a doctor to not only the rest of the horsemen, but obviously the family as well, seen when she regularly tends to Eric's wounds, which he sustained earlier in the film during his fight with Redmond. During one of the family's many attempts to escape, Andrew fled the house and ran to his car, which Sabrina then proceeded to chase him and shoot him in the ankle, which she then explained he won't bleed out. She shot him in the ankle simply because it would stop him from attempting to escape. He would not be able to stand, but he would be alive enough to complete the ritual. And the final member of the Horsemen is Adrian. Adrian, prior to becoming a horseman, was a very talented cook. She loved to create delicious food and feed it to people at a restaurant she worked at. She also liked to create pancakes for her kid, who loved them, and hoped that she could see her kid again after this was all said and done. However, that was not going to happen. Adrian's weapon is essentially a spear with a sharp point on the end and what looks like a butcher's knife mounted to the top. She appears to know how to fix things, seen when she fixes the kitchen window and the dining room door, which were both broken by Redmond when he broke into the cabin earlier into the film. And obviously she cooks meals for the Four Horsemen and for the family, which would include Leonard, herself, Sabrina, Redmond, Eric, Wen, and Andrew. She also is seen doing the dishes after every meal. And granted, we never see her cook outside of that one breakfast scene. It's implied that she does throughout the course of the film, even though we don't see it. Leonard's weapon is a staff-like weapon, like the other ones, and has numerous knife blades, prongs from a pitchfork, and the blade of a machete mounted to the top of it. His most notable use of this weapon is when he uses it to bludgeon other members of the Four Horsemen when they are judging humanity. So this is just after tsunamis, earthquakes, famine, planes falling out of the sky, forest fire spreading throughout the world. All of this stuff happens right when this weapon kills members of the Four Horsemen. And interesting thing about this weapon is I feel like these weapons have to kill members of the Four Horsemen in order for judgment to be made. Seen when Andrew actually kills Sabrina with a pistol, and Sabrina dies of blood loss. However, Leonard still hits her multiple times with his weapon, which I believe is the only way for judgment to actually be made, is having members of the Four Horsemen be killed by their weapons. Let me remind you, though, that the Four Horsemen are not monsters. They are regular people from different places on Earth with different backgrounds and different jobs. Leonard was a school teacher. Redmond was a reformed criminal who made his life better by becoming a part of the workforce. Sabrina was a gifted doctor, and Adrian was a loving mother and talented cook. None of these people wanted to be here at this cabin with this family doing what they needed to do. They probably wanted to live their lives and would have been happy living their lives. But when the visions became more vivid and more horrifying, they seemingly had no choice but to take up the roles of the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Now, who or what is the entity that caused seemingly four random people from across the planet to become the Four Horsemen? Well, I believe Eric actually talks about it briefly in the film's third act. He states that he saw a flash of bright light in the window, and he saw in that flash of bright light a shadow-like figure or silhouette. And this figure appeared to be reaching for him. However, he wasn't scared. He felt almost comforted and felt a warmth by seeing this thing. So what is this thing? We never see it. It's only mentioned. We get a vague description of it. Is this thing God? Is it Jesus? What is it? Is it an angel? We have no idea. It's not revealed. Nothing is really mentioned after this about the entity. All we know is that it was potentially responsible for bringing the Four Horsemen to Eric and Andrew's cabin and for revealing itself to Eric. So, the long and short of it, a mysterious shadow entity revealed itself to seemingly four random people around the world simultaneously, gave them horrifying images and visions of the end of the world, told them that they needed to find a family to put a stop to it, that they needed to make a sacrifice. They became the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, tracked down this family, and every time the family refused to do what needed to be done, a member of the Four Horsemen had to be killed in order to judge the planet. But that pretty much sums up my deep dive into the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse featured in Knock at the Cabin. I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was loads of fun. It was quite a dark and mysterious movie. I mean, it is a dark mystery movie, and I found it quite enjoyable. If you're into stuff like this, I highly recommend you go check out this movie because it's a really good time at the theater. It keeps you on edge and guessing every step of the way. With that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. Do take care, have a great night, and I'll see you in the next video.